Hi, I'm Allie Clifton, Spectrum Sportsnet studio host covering the Los Angeles Lakers, and this is Her Table.
Now you see her.
You are magnificent!
Welcome to Her Table, the podcast that shines a spotlight on the badass women who are redefining the game. Join hosts Kate Foley and Megan Martinez as they unlock the secrets of success from the brightest female pioneers in the industry. Whether you're a young woman aspiring to break into the sports industry or a seasoned professional looking for fresh inspiration, come on and grab a seat at Her Table, where women's voices are amplified, dreams are realized, and the game is changed.
You must always have faith in yourself.
Seek out strong women to befriend, to learn from, to be inspired by.
Women need a seat at the table, and in some cases, they need to create their own table.
Welcome back, everybody, for another episode of our special Women in Sports we're honoring. I'm Kate Foley.
And I'm Megan Martinez.
And this is Her Table. Our next guest has quite the resume.
Oh yeah, Allie Clifton. She's a former college basketball player, 5-time Emmy Award winner. She works for Spectrum Sportsnet as the host of the Lakers and host of the Trippin podcast. Love it.
She graduated from the University of Toledo with a bachelor's degree in sports analysis and communication. She has over 10 years of experience as a sideline reporter from the Cavs to the Lakers. She is just telling all the stories, 2 championship franchises she's worked for.
Yeah.
I can't wait to get into her story.
I'm so excited.
I love it. Well, I'm so glad that you're here today. Like, so much stuff to talk about. You have an amazing career and story. And
thank you.
I love the fact that, one, you're here in LA, which is great. But secondly, like, you're kind of touching so many things. Your hands are in so many pots. Like, how do you manage that?
I'd like to think I do. However, sometimes I don't know. I think it's just probably who I have always just been my entire life, and that's just organized chaos. I just kind of... I should say that when I was a college basketball player, when I was a player, I prided myself on versatility.
Okay.
And I think when you kind of take on that reputation, you have to be able to have your hands in a little bit of everything. And it's where I found success on the basketball court. And once my career was over, it's how do I transition that into my everyday life? How do I make that my lifestyle? And I think that's exactly what I'm doing. Also, when I got into this industry, which was a unique story in itself, just because I don't feel like I have the path as many probably would expect doing what I do. But Doris Burke was someone that I had always looked at and looked up to. And one of the things I noticed about why I was attracted to her as a professional is you never knew when you turned on the television where Doris would be, whether she was on the sideline, in the booth, in studio hosting. And that's kind of where I've taken my career, if you will, and to try to model it after an individual, successful individual like that. And so when you say like hands and everything, I guess it's just kind of what I wanted.
Yeah.
Right? Whether I'm balancing it or not, that's to be determined.
You're in it to win it. That's what I say. Like, I've got it all here, and like there might be a dumpster fire over here and then a beautiful award over here, but like somewhere in the middle is where I'm just thriving in chaos.
And you'll never know. Like, that's probably the biggest thing is as long as no one knows, we're good. We're Gucci.
Well,
You mentioned how you took a different career path to get to where you are today. So what was your different career path?
I was an education major.
Okay.
So, I played sports my entire life. And I went to college and I went in right away. I don't know if I just thought I was trying to be cool. And I declared my major before freshman year even started. I wanted to be a teacher, 4 to 9, math, science. My dad just retired at 40 plus years in the education system. I have cousins, aunts, family members who are all in the education system. So I was like, you know what, that's what I'm going to do. And I'm playing college basketball. If I get that out of the way and have an understanding of that, I can focus on hoops. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, towards like the end of my career, I was miserable going to class. And I remember taking a 2.5 hour Calc 4 exam, one problem. And it was brutal. Took me all 2.5 hours. I don't even know if I passed it because I left the class and I went straight across
and she's like
the bridge to my academic advisor. And I was like, Stacey, help me. I need to change my major. So I say that was my unique path because I think Many people probably would have never guessed that about me, but I think what it showed me is that there's no right or wrong way as long as you make it yours. Right.
I think it's so cool to hear that. I have like a similar story where I'm like, I wanted to go to school for sports medicine. Like went in, knew what I wanted to do, loved it until I didn't love it.
Yeah.
And I always tell everyone, it's like sometimes when you say, what do you want to do? It's so encompassing because you're like, I don't know.
Especially at that age.
Yeah,
so young,
I don't know what I want to do,
know.
or I have to have an answer, or I have to have a plan. And sometimes people have a plan. Sometimes your plan changes. And I think that is like the fluidity of also just like the world of sports is like you are going to be asked to do things that are outside of your scope, and can you handle them? Yeah. And like those moments. So it's like when I changed my major, I was like, I still love it. I just didn't love sock tans. I don't want to be at football practice at 5 a.m. Like it just.
What's sock tans?
Like, what are sock tans?
Like being outside.
Where you like wear tennis shoes with sock tans.
Yeah. Okay, sorry. Yeah.
Sock tans. Sock tans. The sock tans.
Yeah, I thought there was like okay, my bad. No.
Sock tans. So you have like white feet and then like
is this
really
caffeine? Is this? No, I'm kidding. Okay, got it.
It's a new thing. We're dropping all kinds of new stuff on this podcast. It's amazing. We dropped poppy soda yesterday. Of like we love it, so we were trying to change the world.
I love poppy too.
Yeah, poppy.
See?
Yeah.
Back to it. But no, like full circle. No, I just it for me. So I was like, I don't want to do it. I didn't play sports. I don't play basketball, and so I love meeting women who did play and then went into sports because I'm the polar opposite. Where it's like, well, how do you know what you're doing if you didn't play sports or you don't play basketball? And I'm like, well, it's like saying like, how do you not know how to tie your shoe? Like you learn, like you know you do. So you went to the University of Toledo. Yeah. Okay, my family is from Ohio.
What part?
They are from Toronto, Ohio.
Oh. I'm born and raised there, and why do I not know?
Well, because there's only like 4,000 people that live there.
Okay, well, my hometown's just as small. So
you could put everyone on a cruise ship. The entire town could go on one cruise ship. Think about that. That's so weird. But yeah, they're from Toronto, Ohio, so right outside Steubenville. You probably know where Steubenville is.
Yep.
See?
Got it.
There we go.
It's kind of like my hometown's Hendersonville, North Carolina, and everyone's like, where's that? And I'm like, Asheville, and they're like, okay, got it. You just have to go to the next biggest city to get where you're going. Yeah. So you are not from like the West Coast. You're from Toledo.
I'm from Vanderbilt, Ohio.
Right.
And I went to Toledo, which is like 2 hours north. Yep.
Right. So what drew you out west?
The job.
Okay.
My career. So right out of college, I was the Cavs sideline reporter. So I found myself, obviously, being reminded by my parents, they're very good at this, of covering a team that I grew up rooting for, and being able to start my career in my home state. Cleveland is just 3 hours away from my hometown, so being close to family and such. But when I had this opportunity after 6 years spent with the Cavs as a sideline and wanting to expand my toolbox, I had the opportunity to come out here and be a host. And I just remember thinking, wow, Allie, way to go for it. The first time I ever lived outside of Ohio was Los Angeles, California.
Wow.
Swing it big, people.
But as scary, I think, in the moment as I was very, very excited because having traveled with the Cavs, I'd been here a couple times, right? And I knew some people before making the move, but it's scary in itself of just, like you go back to kind of thinking of like, you were that little small hometown girl who is now trying to feel like it's a country song, a lyric, make it in the big city world.
With her dog in the truck.
Yeah, seriously.
Drinking beer.
Busch Light. Having said that, it's been awesome. It's been everything, not to be cliche at all with it, but what I've dreamed of.
Yeah.
My motto in life is finding comfort in the uncomfortable. And I've had those moments here for all good reason. My career has allowed me to grow here. And yeah.
How did you get the job with the Cavs? So like for our fans that are like, okay, I want to be her.
Right.
What do they do? Do they intern? Do they apply? Like, what is that path? Because you changed your path in college.
Yep.
And then you just did like a straight up about face. You went from 10-year-old classroom mathematics to like front facing in front of a camera, thousands of people.
Like, mixing solutions and stuff because I thought chemistry was the coolest thing on earth.
Might be a little,
You'd be surprised. I was covering a double homicide murder in Toledo, actually, which is wild. So when I say, of course, and I say that obviously with the most sincerest in my heart, because there's nothing fun about that, right?
No.
When you create your own path or you're trying to find your way. Yeah, so I changed my major with a semester to go, long story short, and I stuck around. I got my master's at Toledo. I was a GA in the weight room. I woke up Monday through Friday, 4 a.m., trained all the athletes at Toledo, minus football team, would be done around 2, 3 o'clock, and then I would go call games at night, and for nothing, basically. But I was told early on, sometimes it's moments like that that'll show you if you're really passionate about what you're doing.
If it's
right?
worth it, you love it.
What you want to do. And along that way, though, I then interned with one of our local affiliates. I started with TOL, and then in the sports department, and then after graduating in 2012 of May, that summer, I went on with our ABC affiliate as kind of like a sports reporter, but I also had to do the odds and end jobs where they needed me. Yeah. And that was weekend mornings, which at that time I was like, this is definitely not for me, because here I was too at that moment, 23 years old, going to bed at like 6 o'clock on a Saturday because I had to be up for that morning shift. And then here comes August, and I'm sitting at my desk there at the news station, and I got a call from Fox Sports Ohio. And by the way, I had sent my resume and my reel out to everyone, and I'd been told so many times, no, for various reasons, which again, don't get discouraged, because someone's no, maybe another person's yes. Timing is important. It's huge, even though it can be really hard. So get a call from Fox. I actually, when it was Bob Pennell, he said, Allie, I'm Bob Pennell. I work with Fox Sports Ohio, and we're looking to fill a position with the Cleveland Cavaliers. And I actually did not respond at first, because I was like, oh, this is my breakthrough. This is my moment. Oh, my goodness. I had actually never even sent anything to them because I didn't have a contact, which is wild.
Wow.
And then you're like, is this real?
Yeah.
Like, how did they get to me? I didn't go
to the
there.
point where he was like, Allie, you still there? Kind of moment, right? And so I went outside. I took the phone call. A couple weeks later, I went and I did the interview. I'll never forget it. It was me, at a table just like this, with 4 men. And they just interviewed me, grilled me from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. And it was all whether or not they could trust a 24-year-old female with an NBA franchise.
Wow.
Which was wild, because I was going in thinking we were going to talk about cameras and lighting and, timing and what do you do in this situation on the floor, because the very first time I was actually on air, I walked off camera, which they were like, that's probably not wise. We were in Philadelphia.
You on purpose, or you just...
I got nervous, I guess.
You just got nervous, and we're like, auto eject, pull the plug.
They're like, well, Allie, this is your job. You probably shouldn't do that. But anyways.
You learn, yeah.
So, it was...
But you know what? That's a thing where you're like, okay, been there, done that. Yeah. And you got through it. That's the thing that's so important, is these moments where you feel like the world is just collapsing, and you're like, oh my gosh, I just did the biggest thing. That was a nightmare, and it's like this... You're like, how am I ever going to survive this? And then the sun comes up the next day, and the world keeps turning, and you're like, okay, I'm still here. Didn't take me back home today, so I must have more work to do.
And
so,
I think that element and that understanding came from me being an athlete.
Yeah.
Right? That's the other thing, too, what you learn as an athlete.
Yeah.
That sometimes people don't realize can transfer into life until you're in it.
Yeah.
I finished 82 games, and even at the end of my first season in the NBA, I didn't think I was coming back. I didn't think I was built for it.
Why? Okay, you got to dive into this for me. Why didn't you think you were built for it? Because it's like...
I think going back to the way my career started and how I was learning on the fly. I didn't go to journalism school. I didn't get probably the amount of reps. And I truly believe that experience, especially in our industry, in the field is so critical. And I didn't have that. And so I was just kind of thrown into the fire, and luckily I had incredible producers and colleagues around me that would just encourage me and gave me that constructive criticism along the way to teach me. But even the summer after, I was just like, I don't know if this is for me. And I came back. I think I was under contract, so I came back for the second season, and it changed. Things felt different. I had done it before, and the little things of traveling and taking care of you as a human being and all that stuff you've already done. So you kind of have that under your belt, and you can focus on the job. And with reps and opportunity, I think it just continued to grow.
I think it's kind of like the unknown too, right? Of you go into
scary.
it and you're like, okay, messed that shit up.
Yeah.
Got that right. And then you're like, wait, I've been here before. I know what to do now. And so it's almost like that failure. The more you fail, the more you succeed, because you're take that nugget with you and keep it moving. But then you also know that you got through it. And it's interesting for me to hear you say, I came back. I didn't think I was coming back. You didn't think I was coming back, didn't know if it was for me. And I think I've definitely been there in my career of for sure. Is this the shit I want to spend my life doing? Yeah. Because it is a commitment. Like, I literally, I will steal that from Becky Bonner of the Orlando Magic of like, this lifestyle and these career paths are a commitment.
Yeah.
Like, literally, you are marrying, dating, having kids. Like, you are all in it to win it, and you're going to miss a lot of things. And you talked about the sacrifices you had to make, right? Of like not going out on Saturday nights and things like that. And I think so many people want to do what you do, but they don't realize what you have to sacrifice and how hard it really is to be like a person. Like, they see beautiful Allie on camera, killing it, smiling, happy. And then there's probably moments where you're like, that ain't it. Because there are days where I'm like, that looks beautiful, but you didn't see the 3-hour cry session I had before of like what it like. You see the pretty part.
Right.
It's the under the table, you know, kind of digging in the trench part that no one sees. Have you had some of those moments?
Oh, I have them every day. maybe not
Okay, good. I feel better now.
Not as like dramatic. But I mean, I think too, like that's the thing. And I hope everyone understands. I feel like we all do, but sometimes we don't want to believe it, that social media is just a highlight reel.
It is.
Yeah.
Right.
It is.
And I say this with like the utmost love and respect too for my profession. I've been in it now for over a decade. So if I didn't love it, I wouldn't be here. But to be good at what you do, you have to work.
Yes.
And yeah, it is glamorous and it does have its perks. But if you don't do the job first, none of that matters.
100%.
And it will show you that so fast.
Right.
And so I think for me, just understanding that that comes first, and through that comes some frustrations.
Yeah.
You know, comes some uncertainties, comes some moments where you don't know if you can push on, but you find it somehow, some way, right? And I think it's in those moments where I'll remember this forever because I was so uncomfortable. And I think in live television, it really shows you because it shows you fast and in the moment, right? Of if you're unprepared, oh, buddy. And it was the first time, it was LeBron's return to Cleveland. At the end of that season, it was the first time the Cavs had won the Central Division. We weren't even talking about a championship. We weren't even talking about being in the playoffs. We were in Milwaukee, and there was so much going into that season and the hype and et cetera. And our PR individual, Tad Carper, who I love dearly, came up to me, and there was maybe just over a minute of game time on the clock left, and the Cavs were going to win the division. And he came up to my seat, and he told me that he was giving me Kevin, Kyrie, and LeBron for a post-game walk-off. When I tell you, like my heart is fluttering right now thinking about that moment. That is essentially 6 questions.
Yeah.
I am someone who is all about preparation. I will go into every interview having written out the question.
Yeah.
I don't ever look at my notes because for me it transfers. Like when I write, it goes to my brain.
Yeah.
Having said that, I don't even, when I walked off the court, I delivered the interview. When I walked off the court, I had no idea what I said.
Just out.
The
Just
rush,
literally.
I mean, just the rush, the moment, but it's in those moments, I say all that to say, when you get to the other side of that, it's like, okay, this is why I'm here.
Wow.
You know, and all that hard work, all that sacrifice,
Yeah.
all that uncomfortability that you've put yourself in or you've found yourself in, it pays off. It matters, right?
Yeah.
Totally.
But it's not to say that maybe the night before I was freaking out.
Right.
Or in that moment, I was bawling on the inside.
Allie's like, oh shit, oh shit,
Dad, what
oh
are you
shit.
doing? Why would you ever put me in that position? Well, because other people do see greatness in people.
Yeah.
No, they
And
do.
see
They do.
that you're capable.
They do.
Exactly.
You know?
Saw that
So-
you could handle it and
Yeah.
okay. Well,
And
so-
I am in therapy. So like, okay.
Okay, I think everyone should be. Like, I think at a certain point,
Yeah.
listen, this might be our therapy,
Yeah.
like, honestly.
Yeah.
So,
It's a good thing. It is a good thing.
no, it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
So describe what your kind of day-to-day is like working at Spectrum Sportsnet and covering the Lakers.
For sure. So say it's a game day. This is like the unique difference, I guess. 2 things here is obviously I'm very built on preparation, and it's something that matters a lot to me. And I was having dinner recently with a colleague, Michael Boban, who I look up to so much in this business. And he's obviously on PTI every single day, and he's done it for decades, blah, blah, blah. And I just asked him, you know, how long does it take you to prepare? Like, what's the shtick for you? Like, how do you get everything? Because you're covering so many sports in the hour, et cetera, half hour. And he goes, it's not preparation, Allie, it's a lifestyle. And I was like, you know what? That's what mine is, in a sense. And I say that humbly. Because if you walk into my house and you turn my television on, it's SportsCenter, it's NBA Today, it's whatever basketball show, NBA TV. If you look on my Twitter, it's all NBA teams, players, the news cycle, etc. It just never stops. And I think even recently I've realized that the NBA never stops.
Right.
It's not just a season.
No.
It's year-round, 365 days, right? So the preparation is constant. And I say that from a standpoint of I love it.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know anything else to search on Twitter, so that's a good thing. But then I usually try to get a workout in the morning. That's big for me. And then I will connect with my producer. We'll usually connect with us in the morning, get in, do hair, makeup, get that out of the way. And then it'll be 3 hours until showtime. And that's a rundown. That's going over the latest stories. The one thing I love about our producers here in LA is with Spectrum, they allow us to write our own questions.
Nice.
So when I go in with my analyst, I feel what I'm delivering. Right. And then we'll do the hour show for pregame. We go into the conference room. We watch it as a team. We'll do the halftime show, watch the second half, and then go out and do an hour postgame show.
Okay.
That is a game day. The other thing people don't always know, and that's other NBA teams as well I've come across, is that we also do non-game day shows. So they're 1 hour shows, and it's basically just a recap of the night before, looking ahead to the next night.
So you're filming every day?
Every day. At least
Every
5
day.
days a week we were working, which was new for me. In Cleveland, I was just game.
Yeah.
And here it's, I remember when I got the job and they were talking about like summer shows, and I was like, what do we talk about?
Yeah.
And
I'm going
they
to
were
need you to
like,
break that down.
It's the Los Angeles Lakers. There's something to talk about. And I was like, okay. No.
There is.
So, yeah, and we even do shows in the summer. So
Yeah.
it's 2 days a week in the summer. It's a little bit more scaled back. I host the Lake Show podcast. So that's 45 minutes a week there. And, yeah, it's just
It's like a
over
machine.
and over.
That's what I say about
Yeah.
the NBA is it is quickly become this machine that will either chew you up and spit you out,
Yeah.
or you figure out what your role is in that machine and you just get on and do it.
Yeah.
Like, it will wait for no one. And it's honestly, it's a little bit too, like, this industry, I feel like, is with the players, it waits for no one. There's another one coming, but there's another Allie coming. There's another Kate coming. Like, that. And so that for me is like, what for you really drives you? Like, you love it. You love sports. But like, what drives you to keep giving and giving and giving? Because this is like you are in a turn it on, turn it off career, right? Like, you have to be on camera. You cannot not show up the Allie they saw yesterday. They are expecting to see you in your glory and who you are as a person every single time. And you're a human.
Yeah.
How does that work?
It's very, very true when you say that too. Being on all the time is a lot. And I think that's a lot of the reason why I'm in therapy, right? And I say that so I love it. But I just think there's a balance to find to be able to make sure that you can be on all the time, right? And with that said, success drives me. And I've always said I did not get into this profession to be famous. I did it to be successful. And what I mean by that is how I've learned and grown up and understood success is through all the intangibles of what it takes to be a human in this world. And I just think my parents were incredible in terms of instilling in. I'm a middle child. I have an older sister, younger brother. We all play college sports, and it's about the grind. It's about the daily commitment and dedication to your craft and to wanting to be great at something. And right now that's my career. And so I think that's what just keeps me coming back, the challenge of it all, right? And to show up and to prove to myself, first and foremost, that I can do this and I do belong, right? And then to be a small part of, I think, what we as women especially are looking to do, especially in the sports industry. And I'm proud to be a very, very small part of that. You know, we all are a part of that. And for that next generation. Yeah. There's nothing more fun and enjoyable for me than to give back. And whether that was through camps that I used to work, for sports. Yeah. And the younger girls, because I was that young girl, or now standing on the sideline or in a studio hosting chair, running a show. Someone's always watching, and it's little things like that that just keep me going.
Yeah. I always say, like, if I can change one person, I have done my job here on this earth. I'm not trying to change a million, just one. And if that's to inspire, encourage support, teach, learn from, right? Like learn from, right? Because some people's job isn't for you to teach them, it's for you to learn from.
Right.
And I think in this industry, one of the things I've seen, especially for women in sports, is like, you're a beautiful woman.
Thank you.
And that is sometimes a blessing and sometimes a curse in this industry, because I have found sometimes you are automatically judged by the way you look, not the talent or expertise that you bring. And sometimes you can use that for your benefit, and sometimes you can use that, it literally hurts your feelings, because it's like, no. So you talked earlier about you were sitting at a table and they wanted to know, can they trust a 24-year-old girl, young lady, woman with a franchise? What were they asking you?
In those moments, and to be honest with you, it prepared me, because from my position, I was on every flight, I was in every hotel room, hotel, I was on the buses, I was sitting in practice. I was very fortunate to do my job to the best of my ability. You have to be around, and at the same time, I am there to cover basketball. I have zero desire or role in covering anything personal that doesn't pertain to you as an athlete, your platform and what you are trying to push, obviously, as human individuals as well. But that was strictly my role, right? That's my job. And to trust that if something were to happen, if there was a scuffle at practice, that I wasn't going to run to the internet. That I'm sitting in practice and watching a scouting report for that night's game, and that I wasn't going to give out plays. I was in every single huddle, that I can deliver philosophical guidance from a coach versus the actual out of bounds play they're about to run, right? It was all those little things. And throughout my 6 years there, I did see a lot of it. And you have to, and I say that respectfully, and you have to be able to turn it off.
You do.
There are some situations, and I know our guys talked about it on the Road Trippin podcast before, so I'm not saying anything, but there were scuffles in practice. Like, I've seen them, but I don't talk about them.
Yeah. Right.
It's not my job.
Yeah.
Right? And not only that, but I was a former teammate and player myself.
So you get it. It's good. They're people. Like, at the end of the day, they're people.
Right.
And I think that's one thing that, for me, especially in this industry, is just to remind everyone that they're people.
Yeah.
There are days I don't want to do this. There are days I don't feel good. There are days I don't like you. There are days I don't like myself. Like, we're all humans, and that outplays in different ways. And you're in such a unique experience and situation that you're so close to the pulse of that, right? Where it's like the second that you don't have that respect and like just protection almost of whether that's players, coaches, staff, executives, of like, she can be in that and it doesn't matter. It's so hard, and it's a line. Like you said, turn it off. Like, that is one of the most important things, but it's the hardest thing.
It is very hard.
It is
so hard.
literally, it is the hardest thing, because it affects you, but it doesn't affect you. But you also have to see and hear things that you don't necessarily want to know.
Yeah.
And you can't look at them any differently. Like, I saw you do this at practice, and I think you're a jerk, but like, I can't come at you like I have a feeling towards it. Over there in a box. And that's a hard thing to do, because you're a person too. And there's a lot of personalities that are, in the NBA period, or any sports, but especially on high profile teams, there's a lot of personalities, from staff to ownership to players, that you're navigating. How hard is that for you?
And I actually, too, from that standpoint, like it was never lost on me that, like, it was such a privilege just to be a part of such a small travel group. Right? Like, I think especially the road experiences, I was one of like 50, 60 people that, like, we were a family, and that's what it's supposed to feel like. Right? So it was never lost on me. Like, this could be easily taken away from you if you mess up at all, Allie. Like, understand your role. Everyone has a role, and play it to the best of your ability. And yeah, to your point, it can be hard at times, but it's not hard when you understand what you could lose.
Is that
like,
pressure that you feel, though? Like, you can't mess up. Like, that's a lot of pressure to carry.
No, because those are, like, what does it do for me to tell you gossip?
Yeah.
That doesn't have anything to do with me.
Correct.
It's not my business.
Correct. I think it's so important, though, because so many people get into this of like, I want to be the in the know person so then I can go look cool.
Yeah, no.
But that's not going to go anywhere. Like, that's not going to take you
No.
anywhere further. It's actually going to hurt you.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what you know might be your little book of fun in your brain, but it is not, the tea
comes
time
out.
with your
Yeah.
friends or
Right.
even around other staff. And I think as women, they expect us to gossip. I think they expect us to, like, you know what I mean? Like, oh my gosh, did you see this? Or have someone said to me the other day, don't be so emotional. And I was like, wow. I was like, are you saying that because I'm expressing feelings of how, like, what we're talking about isn't appropriate? Or are you saying that because I'm a woman and you're just using that as women are emotional? You wouldn't say this to Sam over here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you said it to me.
Yeah.
And then it was like,
Yeah.
I'm one of the most emotional people you'll ever meet.
well, but here's the thing. You have to be because you like, if you're not, you're just a robot. Like, what is
Yeah.
that? No one wants to live a
Right.
life like that. But it was interesting to watch something that is probably more a female trait than a male trait
Yeah.
be used in a way that made me feel like I had done wrong or I was doing wrong or I shouldn't be that way.
Yeah.
Who are you to tell me how to be? Like,
Yeah,
what you want me to be
right.
like, hey, you're an asshole?
Right.
Like, I wouldn't say that to you. Like, it's
Yeah,
the
very
same
true.
thing.
Yeah.
But I think as women, sometimes it's like you're under this microscope and they're just waiting for you
to fail.
or
Yeah.
to do something that they deem like a big mess up when it's not. But they're just like almost waiting for it. Like, it's like just chomping at the bit of like, let's see how she does with this. And what if we throw her that?
Yeah.
And I hate that because I love your story of the Cavs of like, you're going to get these 3 guys and holy shit.
Oh my God.
Right?
Yeah.
Compared to like, here, we're going to give it to you, but it's a test.
Yeah.
Like, I'm either ready or I'm not.
Yeah.
And if you think I'm ready, you better have my back and be standing there cheering,
Right.
not waiting for your moment to advance yourself
Yeah.
on my failure.
Right.
Yeah.
And as women, that's what I see sometimes from us. And it makes me sad. It really does, because I do think that women, it's always like, women are catty, they're gossipy, they're this or that. And then there's some of us that are like, I don't give a shit. Like, have fun with that. But at the same time, I also don't like the narrative of like, you put 3 women at a table, can they all get along? Like, I've heard that from executives where it's like, we have enough women on staff. Is she going to work with everyone else? Like, is this person going to add or subtract? I'm like, why? Like, it's so weird for me, but
Yeah.
it's a male-dominated sport. So that's sometimes all they know.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
And then you have a woman that comes in and does that, and it infuriates me because they're like, ha, ha, ha. Yes, check the box. And I'm over here like, you're hurting me.
Right.
And I'm not doing anything, but the way you're carrying yourself and handling your business affects me. The same way how I handle mine affects you.
Right.
And that's like a big thing with women is like just supporting and elevating, because if you can't support and elevate a person, I'm good.
Right.
Like, I want to see everybody win.
Yeah.
I want to see everybody at the table. I want
Yeah,
everybody
love
to the
it.
table. Like, come on
Yeah.
in, because I'm going to learn from you. You're going to learn from me. And that's how we can educate people on that's not the narrative I want to live for
Amen.
women
Yeah.
in sports, period.
Yeah.
Well,
I love that.
I think too, like with you, like working and like with professional athletes, like that's intimidating for women. So I think
down.
I would love to know, like, how do you earn that respect? Like working with these top athletes, and you're out every day and you're going to shoot around. Like, how do you get them to respect you?
Show up.
Love it.
Up. And I give, and I owe, and I forever will, so much credit to my parents. I didn't understand it at the time, but it's funny how things work. When I was being thrown into football workouts, the guys' basketball workouts in high school. I mean, I was running stadiums, and I was oftentimes the only girl in the room. And now I get it, right? It makes me feel this sort of familiarity in my space that I'm in now, right?
Right.
And being around men, and especially athletes, is comfortable for me because it's sports.
Yeah.
It's competition. I feel like we just connect mentally. And so that's half the battle, I think, sometimes. And then I got a piece of advice when, again, LeBron returned back to Cleveland, and it was from Jason Jackson, the sideline of the Miami Heat.
Okay.
And his biggest thing was, if you want to earn the respect of one of the greatest stars in the game, show up and prove and show that you're just as dedicated to your craft as he is his.
Yeah.
And it was important. I think in my 4 seasons covering the Cavs during that time, which started in September, essentially because I was a freelance. So I lived in Cleveland during the season, and then I would go back and live in Toledo during the summers. And from September until the end of June, I think I missed practice. You could count it on one hand.
Wow.
In 4 seasons.
Wow.
I never missed games. I missed one game because I passed a kidney stone.
I mean, come on.
In the pregame press conference, while I was asking Michael Malone, I'll never forget, a question. I was in the emergency room because I had passed one that morning, and then I got liquid Toradol, which was the greatest thing in the world. I felt like $1 million, and then I passed another one that night. So here we are.
Oh my gosh.
Having said that, I didn't miss. I didn't miss the opportunity to be there. I took it very serious, and also when you're around, that alone shows your commitment. Right.
Yeah.
And I struggle to go and talk about something that I'm not around with, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's the biggest thing, and because trust is huge. And I think too, to the both of the points that you guys had made as well, like they are athletes. They're superhuman athletes, and so many people look at them that way. But when you have a chance to be around them, like you won't forget that they're human first.
Yeah.
And they're people, and they have wonderful stories, whether it's their family, their upbringing, their kids, their extra hobbies.
Yeah.
And it's important for them to know that you know that, right?
Yeah.
And you have that opportunity to get to know them, and they want to get to know you as well. And it just allows that professional working relationship to just kind of thrive and flourish.
Yeah.
How do you handle, like, I think one of the interesting things for me about your job is, yes, they come and talk to you and do interviews, but yes, there are times that they don't want to come and talk to you, and they don't want to do that post-game interview, and they don't want to. What is that? How do you navigate that?
It's actually one of my biggest struggles because as a former player, I take a lot of pride in like timing and situation.
Okay.
And I always felt like that was an area where I was strongest in when it came to like post-game interviews, or, for example, I would always have a halftime walk-off interview from a sideline position if the team was winning at half. And if they weren't winning, we didn't do the interview. And I remember one particular instance in Philadelphia, the Cavs were up by like 15-17, and then all of a sudden, within a minute and a half, 2 minutes, it's down to like a 1-point game, and they give me J.R. Smith, Swish, for a walk-off interview. I do know that he is a player that would wear his heart on his sleeve, emotionally driven, very connected, engaging, right, with what was going on. And so my questions in that moment, I had to be sharp, and I had to recognize the mentality of what he was probably in that moment, right? He's not happy that they blew that lead,
Right.
that whole kind of vibe. And there's times, and I say that all to say, there's times when I don't want to interview a player. I want to give them space.
Yeah.
But there's this thing called work.
Your job?
Obligation.
Yeah, like
My
I
job.
know you don't want to, but
So, yeah.
And
So sometimes I find myself siding with the player
yeah.
versus
Yeah.
my job.
Yeah.
And so that's hard. It is really
Yeah.
hard, to be honest.
It's hard for me on the agency side because I sit on the other side too, where it's like,
Oh.
right? Like I'm the one you're like, oh, that girl over there will not let me. I'm like, yep, no, not today. It isn't going to be today.
So true.
We're going to do this tomorrow because that ain't going to be good for anybody.
That's true.
Yes.
That's funny.
But, you know, where it's on my side where it's like, okay, I also know that they're upset and they don't want to do this, but I also know you have a job to do.
Yeah. Right.
And so for me, I'm always like, look, I always say to everyone, like, everyone has a boss and everyone has a job. And just like you have to report to coach and they have to report to the GM and the GM has to report to ownership, like, you know, this person who's doing your interview has a job to do too. And you have to respect the role that they play and learn how to be friendly when you don't want to be, but also know that if you don't do something, someone's head's going to roll for this.
Yeah.
And again, I'm not going to make you do anything you don't want to do, but I want you to understand if you choose not to,
Right.
what comes with that. And I think the more these players, like the younger and younger that they get, right, that they understand media is like so intimidating for them. I think it's intimidating for me. It's, I mean, doing this is intimidating because I'm like, holy shit, what if I say something stupid? And then everyone's like, she's an idiot. Cool. Sign up for the tour. Like, whatever. But like getting them to understand that not everyone's out to get them. Because I do think in media, there are people that are out to get you. There are people that are out to okie dokie.
narrative twisting.
Exactly.
what they
Or like
say,
creating one where you're like, that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
But that is also the machine of what keeps things going. How do you differentiate between some big time personalities that are on air? Like Stephen A. Smith is a much different experience for a player than being interviewed by you, right? Different personalities, different ways they communicate, way they drive a conversation, right? And so I try to remember for them as players, is like they got to talk to him and they got to talk to you. And then they're like, well, I like that better than them. Like, well, you don't get to, I like her too. Like, she's dope, but we got to do all of it. How would you say to these younger players, for them, of like understanding the media, understanding how to use it, but not being so guarded? Like, we saw this a lot with, Giannis was really good with this, of like, he's great now. But when he started, it was so intimidating. He was so young. He wasn't used to the
Right.
And then he kind of recoiled of like introvert, like I don't know what to do or say, and I'm always judged. And I think for you, how do you have these young players open up to you and feel comfortable of like, hey, she's not out here to get me. She is on my team, and she also has a job to do too. You have these young players coming into the league here with the draft. What would you say to them? Because they're going to get thrown into the media circuit. I mean, you're going to have new players on your team tonight, potentially.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing, and this, obviously, I'm not one of them, so I'm not here to speak for them. But I think what I've recognized, I guess, just from the outside looking in and being around the league as long as I have, is it is very important to surround yourself with good people.
Yes.
And people that you trust, and only you know that, right? Like you have an opportunity to pick your team, pick that circle. I think one that's very important, because there are a lot of things that come at you, especially if you're one of those young stars coming into the league, right? Your life is about to change. And so I think from that standpoint, having those boxes checked in terms of just on the court, off the court, having things kind of aligned with who you are, what you believe in, where you want to go, goals, etc., is important. And then our job, I feel like, and I'm different because I'm more of a team reporter, right? So I'm not the national media, and so I can't speak from their angle. But I think from my situation is that's on me to do that job, to be around again, to let them know that I am essentially on their side, right? I still do have a job to do, but I think as team reporters, we have that advantage of being able to really just focus on the positive. We keep the nuts and bolts, right? X's and O's. If you turn the ball over 27 times, we're going to talk about it. But having said that, as a team, I just think letting them know that we're there for the right reasons, right? And I don't mean that as if the national narrative, they have a different agenda. They have a different, job to do. But from our position, I guess that's where I would start. And I just, look, the more you're around people, the more you get to know people, that takes care of itself. You know? And for someone like me, I don't try to do too much. I don't try to force anything. I don't try to go over the top. I just show up. And I think that can go a long way.
Have you ever been in a situation where you feel like, hey, because I'm a woman, I didn't get this, or because I'll speak for myself as an example. There are situations where you're like, hey, we talked about how, you're a beautiful woman, right? Has that ever been intimidating to yourself of having to like dim your light? Like, have you ever felt like, okay, I can't wear this, or I can't look like this, or you know what I mean? Like you're like, okay, I have to mute myself a little bit to be more appeasing or fit in the box that some male colleagues or male, producers or things want for me.
I will say, one, as I mentioned earlier, being a woman in this industry is something I take a lot of pride in. I'm proud of the women, and I'm proud of the work that we have done to put ourselves here. I also am a true, firm believer that there are incredible men in our industry. And coexisting is something that I think is absolutely necessary and beneficial to the job we are doing in sports that we are covering. Along those lines, I have been mentored and now lived it that I am always going to understand and recognize that I'm here for my career. And there's a fine line. And I will not cross that line. So with that said, that is image, that is I mean, being myself, I don't want to make this more than it should be, but it is something that, I'll be honest, if I would be lying to you if I said I haven't thought about it throughout the course of my career. Right. But it's kind of like my message I have with, for example, Twitter. If I have to think about it longer than 3 seconds, I'm not posting it.
Right.
And it's the same thing. If I look in the mirror and I think something's a little too edgy for me, for my comfort, if I can't sit there at that desk and be focused on my work and I'm worried about what my shirt's doing or, then I'm not going to do it. Yeah. And that's just me. That's my personal. And sometimes, people are like, wow, I've been told I look like a grandma sometimes. Like, well, guess what?
I take such a pride in that of like, I love the fact that like, I'm not, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not trying to be anything other than myself, but I'm also aware.
Yeah.
Like, I'm literally aware. Like,
did you hear what I said about the third quarter? Because that's all I actually really care about when it comes to your opinion, that I've never met you and you're, like, so
I'd rather that.
And your grandma must be a badass person. How about that?
I know, right?
Shout out.
And also like finding that balance of like knowing how to dress, like especially in your position and everything. Like,
do they tell you how to dress, or do you get to pick your own wardrobe?
I get to pick my own. I did get a little bit of guidance just because it was my first time being in studio in terms of lighting, what looks good, what doesn't. Like,
so you don't show up like the gender reveal we have going on
guys
today?
Are amazing. It's more so like horizontal or like stripes or like too much.
Distracting.
Yeah, distracting.
Yeah.
No, you guys are amazing. But I also do want to preface and say, I guess it would be after the fact, that I am like here for women being themselves. Yeah. Whatever that looks like. Again, it comes down to what you're comfortable in, what looks good on you, and do you. Like, I'm not, I don't get caught up as much. I don't pay attention to a lot of, and women before me have taught me this. I don't get caught up in the trolls and the things that are, yes, there are hurtful things out there that I've read, I've come across. My very first tattoo is because I would deliver hits my very first season in the NBA, and I would go down and I would grab my phone and I would search my name on Twitter. The worst possible thing you could do.
Oh my God.
And I did it every single time.
But what tattoo did you get?
I got a cross.
Oh.
Okay.
I got a cross on my wrist and right here, and then I actually just changed it to right
here.
I
just saw it right there too. I was like, okay.
Yeah, because one, I cannot hold a microphone in my left hand. I can only hold it in my right. And so when I would sit down, I'd have my mic in my hand and I would pick up my phone. And so I would see the cross, and it's basically a reminder, Allie, you're where you belong. Like, no one else matters. And I do. I really believe in that, and I want that for everyone else. And I hope that women especially, and men, I'm sure men get it too, that you just have a moment to kind of remember that about yourself. You're here because you belong, and nothing else matters.
Okay, so I'm going to share because I'm going to out myself, and people can learn. So you have your cross on your wrist.
Yeah.
I have one in the same place, and it says, "You are enough."
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
Because so many times we forget that we're enough, and we might not be everybody's cup of tea, and everyone's gonna not like us or whatever. But I'm right-handed, so whenever I would write, because I'm a big handwritten notes person too.
Yeah.
People who keep calendars online, like, I just can't do that.
Yeah,
like, I know they love Google Docs back there, but I'm like, yeah, can you print it? I'm a handwriter. I think it comes out, and then I can refer back to it. But I would always find myself, and when I was working, it was just like I would take a second, and then I just want to have somewhere that was like, that's for me.
It's a reminder. Yep.
That is my gut check to myself. And if I ever, whatever. So it's weird that you have one in the same place. So that's like the universe, weirdly.
I need to get one.
Do you have do you have
No,
one?
I don't
Come
have one
on.
yet.
Next episode, we're getting one in studio.
My first
right
tattoo.
now.
Why not?
That's amazing.
So we're gonna have all our guests now. Like, we have like the freehand tattoo back in the corner. We're like, do you want one? Because we're here
That
for
would be
it.
awesome.
I think that would be so dope. I really do. But it's weird to hear you say that of like, you caught yourself making that mistake, and then you gave yourself a space to like recognize that you needed help in that moment.
Yeah.
And that is not like a red flag. That is you being aware and saying that. And I think like, just as women, as people, identifying like, this is something that's not helping me, it's actually hurting me.
Yeah.
Right.
It really is. It's hurting me.
True,
But you feel so freaking drawn to do dumb shit. And then at the end of the day, you feel like shit.
Yeah.
So I'm like, if it doesn't make me feel good, I don't want to do it.
Right.
Like,
easier said than done.
Yeah.
8 times already today. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? But at the same time, like, when I can, and I always say, I said this to you the other day, we were talking about what we were going to wear. She called me and I was like, okay, this is what I'm thinking. But I was like, wear whatever makes you you.
Right.
Like, literally, I work in my dad thinks it is the funniest thing in the world that, like, I'm an NBA agent. I literally will wear 5-inch heels I don't wear dunks. You're not going to catch me in a sweatsuit. Like, it's just not me. If I showed up like that, my team would be like, who's getting fired and what is wrong with her? Is she okay? Because they're constantly used to seeing this version of me because this is who I am.
Yeah.
And so when you say like, just whatever makes you feel good, do. And that's exactly what I said to you too. Is like, whatever you feel like wearing, wear.
Yeah.
As long as it's not like a naked body on the front of your shirt, which even if it is, like, whose
like,
is it?
that's fine.
I want to know. Is it like,
Yeah, please.
but at the same time, like, I want to support you and whatever makes you feel comfortable. Because, like, I try and live by the motto, and I say to all our clients, too, is like, it's that Deion Sanders. Like, if you look good, if you feel good, you play good. If you, I'm
Feel
a
good,
butcher.
look good, play good.
Yeah.
Yes.
There you go.
But it's like, if you feel a kind of way, then that is energy you're putting out there. And that is changing circumstances and rooms and comfortable. And like you in your situation, when you show up and you're comfortable and you're confident and you're not nervous and you're not like, athletes are then like, okay, she's cool as shit. Like she gets it. I'm not nervous now. She makes me feel comfortable.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing because then they get to be themselves and their guard's not up of like, what am I supposed to say here? It's just like free flowing.
Yeah.
And I think it's so important for everybody that's going through the social media world.
I know.
Yep.
Of like, just to realize like, it's okay.
Yeah.
It is literally okay. Like you're going to mess up. You're going to get it right. You're going to not know what to do. And you know what? You're going to know what to do. And you just got to like
figure it out.
Find your way through it on the other side. So you have your podcast. You're like
Road
a literal,
trippin'.
right? Which I'm like, we get to drink on theirs. Like, what are we doing with ours? We should have, remember like Khloe Kardashian had that like Khloe After Dark where it was like a nighttime podcast?
Oh, I missed that.
Yeah.
Girl.
Oh.
I mean, it was a long, long time ago.
Oh, okay, maybe
but
that's
I
why.
would love, but it was like at night, so they drank cocktails while it was like a
So
night.
smart.
Fun.
It's the greatest thing ever.
But here we are in a morning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
It's fine. We'll get there. We're gonna shift to the
Never too early
nighttime.
to start.
I'm with you. Love it.
We'll be like, this is our takeaway from road tripping is it's okay to drink and do this podcast. Our producers are gonna be like, yeah, not for y'all. Y'all, no.
No, I'd love to hear about road tripping though.
What? So when did it start? What is it?
Yeah, so the Cavs had won the championship in 2016, and then that January following, so we were in 2017, Richard Jefferson came to me at practice. I was sitting at practice. It's funny that you say guys only see you in business attire. Guys see me in anything but athleisure, and they're like, "You got a hot date? Where are you going? What are you doing?" Because I'm normally like
the opposite.
Showing up
baseball, sweats, kicks, so I was sitting in practice, dressed as such, and he just said, "Hey, I'm thinking about starting a podcast. I'd like you to host it. What do you think?" And I was like, "No, absolutely not. I've been around you long enough to know that like the things that you say are really crazy, and I don't want to be in that." And I'll be honest, like I'm still over a decade in this business, coming to a confidence level with my own voice.
Wow.
Right? Like, because of the amount of people that have access to who we are and what we say. And so at that time, especially in 2017, I was like, I don't know. He was like, let's just do a trial. And at that time, Channing, who is obviously Channing Frye, who is also a co-host with us, he was actually supposed to be our guest, I guess. But when we sit down to do it in a hotel room in San Francisco before they played the Warriors, there was a wine glass, and our Spanish radio guy was doing all of our audio. We had one microphone, and we were sitting on the couch. Channing was eating Skittles. Like, doing an audio podcast, eating is probably the worst thing you can do.
The sound.
Yeah. And we did it a couple other times, and people
Skittles.
crushed us for us. Yeah. Crushed us for it. It was funny. But there was a knock at the door, and we were in the athletic trainer's room at the time, and it was Kyrie. And so we were like, Channing, maybe you're going to be our host and Kyrie will be our guest. And so, he was going to stick around. He was coming to get treatment and he was like, yeah, I'll join you guys for 15 minutes, whatever. Over an hour later, he was still there. And we released that episode and it just kind of blew up.
Wow.
I give a lot of credit to Richard. It's the first ever player-driven podcast, current player at the time. And just the NBA world, the Cavs faithful, they just ate it up. So Tad Carper obviously helped us name it Road Trippin', the PR guy that I had mentioned before. And that's kind of what we did. We recorded podcasts on planes, city to city. When we would land in cities, the guys would just ask one of their teammates to join us. We'd go to a hotel room quick. We'd knock an episode out. At the time, I was doing all the editing, social media, et cetera. So I helped to kind of build it from the ground up, which I think is very special, and that's why it means a lot to me as well. And it certainly changed kind of the trajectory of my career, because here I am leading a podcast with these athletes, and different conversations. Very rarely was it ever about basketball, which I think was really fun. It was that humanizing element, right? That I think fans told us they care about. And so it started in 2017. I mean, Rich was traded. Channing was traded. I took a new gig, and we were able to keep it together. Yeah. And we have it on television as well. We filmed some episodes at Spectrum Sportsnet as well, so it's on the linear side. And now we're with Blue Wire. So it's awesome. It just continues to grow, and it's a lot of fun.
It's so interesting, like, the timing of everything. Because I think, like, if none of that had ever happened and a player wanted to do his own podcast, there's probably about 18 people that would jump out of their seat and would be like, we have to control it. We have to know what you're saying. Like, we have to manage, you know what I mean? Because it can just go sideways so fast. But back then, so funny, like way long time ago. Back then, it was just kind of like, cool, let's just do some cool shit and see what happens. Now I feel like there's such an opportunity for people to, like, kind of minimize players' voices and experiences. And also there's some people that probably shouldn't have podcasts that do have podcasts. Like, it's all kind of like grown as it goes. And so it's funny how the universe works of, like, that is that situation, and had you not done that, who knows?
Exactly. To be honest with you, I'm not sure what my, I don't even want to think about it.
But like, that wasn't your story, so you don't have to. But it's just like weird too to be like,
it is crazy because even just like the experiences, the opportunities, the people I've met, the people we've had on our podcast, like the team was awesome, right? We had incredible human beings on our podcast because of the team in general. But, like, I met Charles Barkley on our podcast, obviously. Lindsey Vonn. Like, so cool. Just the amount of different personalities and, you know, and the stories that we've just kind of learned to say that I was a part of. Yeah. I mean, that's where it's, like, really special. And you just, I couldn't imagine.
What's been, like, one of your craziest moments on the podcast? She's like, let me get my notebook.
What did I have to edit out?
Well, one, I think anytime LeBron comes on, it's the media cycle. Like, we know it. We're so close with him, right? But it's just like, the things people catch on to or just hold on to. That's, like, in and of itself incredible. I mean, he joined us after the 2020 championship in studio. And just the other day, when the whole Kyrie wanting LeBron to go to Dallas. Well, LeBron said he really does like Luka. He said it on the Road Trippin podcast in 2020. And I'm like, what? He's talking about his brand. And yes, he does respect him as a player. But does that mean he's going to Dallas? Okay. Wow. Kyrie saying, and I say this respectfully because he has since come out and clarified his statements, but the earth is flat was on our podcast.
Oh, did it originate there?
It did.
Oh my
And
gosh.
the funny thing is we were in an airplane, like thousands of miles above. Yeah, it was interesting.
I'm going to have to listen to that full podcast because I would be like,
blown. That is unreal. It started with you guys.
Yeah, it started with us.
Wow.
And it's funny because that was the episode right before All-Star break. And after it came out that Thursday or Friday, all of our social media disappeared. And I'm not a big conspiracy theorist, but it was wild.
You didn't.
I am, though. So we're going to go there.
So you can go there and have fun with it because I don't know what happened. I still don't know to this day, but I found it really interesting.
Oh, that is very interesting.
The universe had other plans.
Or
someone that
Bill Nye
wanted to be the universe. Someone who wanted to be the universe had plans.
But I think I was sharing with you guys before we even did this, when I was editing our one episode that we did from Boston to Atlanta. It's like a 2.5-hour flight. And I think there was like 8 bottles of wine consumed. And it was Rich, Channing, JR, Kyrie, Braun, Tristan.
That's a mission.
Had all come back. Oh, yeah. And the editing, I almost nixed the podcast. I was like, this one is not dropping because of the things that needed to be edited out. That was a good one. And then I think the other one that really stood out to me was when we were in Toronto and Kevin Love, Channing, and Richard have this like thing where they're like the triangle. They call themselves the triangle. Okay. Whatever. They're funny.
Flat world, triangles. Like we're
at the time we weren't on YouTube or any visual. It was just audio, and they decided to laugh and not say a word for like 15 minutes.
What?
It was the worst. I was just. It was So good times.
But it's grown. Like I think that's what's so special is like you're able to take something and tell a story that impacts someone else. Mm-hmm. And you never know who it's going to impact. Mm-hmm. Like you really, truly don't. Like, it's the three of us sitting here, and we have no idea who's listening. Like,
Yeah.
zero.
Yeah.
I don't
Right.
know. I don't get to see them. I don't like. I can see them back there where I'm like, oh, maybe that
Right.
zero. But obviously, like, when you do something and you feel called to do it, you're kind of like, okay, I don't know why I'm doing this. It's kind of like I was saying to Megan, like, someone asked me, why did we start this? I'm like, well, because Albert Hall said, can you host 4 episodes of Women in Sports? And I was like, yeah, sure. And then he was like, okay, you said you would, so we need to. And I'm like, okay. And so we did. And then they came back and were like, hey, it was great. Like, we want to turn this into a show. And I'm like,
Yeah.
this is funny. What?
Right.
Me? No.
This is great.
And it's funny because it's like, this wasn't like I was like, hey, I want to go do this.
Yeah.
I had never really listened to podcasts. Like, it wasn't like I was like, ooh, this is, it was just kind of like put in front of me. And I was like, you know what? Somehow I feel called to do this. But even more importantly, like, I get to share amazing stories. I get to learn. And I get to maybe change one person's life perspective or opportunity.
Right.
Check.
But at the same time, like, there's nothing easy about this either. Like,
Oh my gosh,
think-
this is like hard. I don't know how you do this every day. I don't envy you in the least. I applaud you because that.
Yeah.
it is crazy. It's a lot. It's work.
It's yeah.
But it's like that we just surpassed 250 episodes. And
Congrats.
Thank you. I say that to say our team at Blue Wire told us that I think the latest numbers say like the average podcast lasts like 7 episodes. Why? Because for a podcast, I believe to be successful, consistency matters and work, like the work you put into it, it matters, right?
Right.
And like, it's wild to me how everyone thinks that they can have a podcast and do a podcast. And I get it. And I love it because it is really, to be honest with you, it's easy. Like,
Set up. Yeah.
it's, if you really just want to do audio,
Yeah.
a microphone.
Yeah.
Talk,
Like,
hang out with
yeah.
your friends, you know.
Right. In a sense, but to keep it going and being fresh and new and
Yeah.
it's work. It's a lot.
Yeah.
But I think it's also the authenticity of it, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like, okay, if you're going to have people on, they're going to be like real, raw, and not just come on and like give you this pretty version of themselves. They're going to tell you something that they struggled with or, you know what I mean? Like they're actually going to give people an opportunity to connect with them is so important.
Yeah.
Because you come on here and just give me 18 practiced answers. And what is that doing?
Yeah.
Right.
But if you have people that are willing to come on and share and be open and vulnerable and like tell their story, it makes it that much better.
Yeah.
And that's what people want to hear.
was
And that's
gonna
what
say,
they come
yeah.
back to hear is
Yeah.
like, okay, sometimes it's like, what crazy shit are they going to talk about today?
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like, wow, like, what's this guest going to talk about? And they know what they're getting. It's
Yeah.
not that like, cool, I heard the same story 87 times. Like, and that for me was so important. Like when we talked about this was like, at first it was like, is it going to be women in sports? Is it going to be like called like her game or whatever? And, you know, I told production, like, I don't want it. Yes. Is it about women in sports that you don't necessarily know about or understand their job or what's their path or their story? But I don't want to limit ourselves to that's just what it is because I think there's an opportunity for us to humanize these people, these women in sports too,
Yeah.
of just who they are as people.
Yeah.
Because that only helps everyone else feel like, wow, I see her on the sideline, but I also know she's from here and she had this and she's in therapy and she's like, you know what I mean? Like she's a person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because so many times I feel like they look for us to be this like box.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, like that's just not it. And it's
Yeah.
for me to share people's story at her table where it's like, so I was saying to them yesterday, like, there's going to be a time where there's going to be guys at her table. I know it. I feel it. I want it. And I think it's so important because so many times it's all about education, but it's also about experience. And I think that bringing everybody to the table is important, but through the lens of like, what do we want to get out of it? Right? And it's like somebody with their own agenda, I don't want them on, you know.
Right.
But that's what I think in sports is so cool is you have diehard fans and then you have, you know, it's funny, you two are like carbon copies of each other. Y'all. No, they are because you're like, I watch sports and I do all this.
Yeah,
and I'm like, I would rather watch Scandal most days because I'm so sick of dealing with the craziness some days. I guess I'm going to shut it off. And everyone's like, do you love going to all these games? And I'm like, if I have to eat another hot dog this week, I might just die.
Yeah.
Like I might just stick a fork in me and no more. I'm like, is this arena Coke or Pepsi? Because that's going to decide
So true.
if I want to go to this game or not.
Yeah.
Because
Do you go
it's-
with Coke or Pepsi in the arena?
I'm going Coke all day
Coke?
long.
Okay,
Yeah,
good to
Coke.
know.
I can't do Pepsi.
Regular diet.
No, regular. If I'm in it to win it, I am just. Are you Diet
For you.
Coke?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think just for the aesthetic of it all.
I love it.
I literally like my Starbucks order is a venti non-fat cappuccino, extra hot, extra dry. So it's literally espresso through foam. And people are like, you pay so much money for nothing. And I'm like, you know what? It's the aesthetic of it, okay? I like how it feels in the cup.
Get
and
off
It
me.
sounds too. You sound like when you said that, I was like, whoa. I drink kombucha, but I'm like, wow.
Get off me.
That's like legit.
Yeah, get off me. No, what I also think too, remind me I'm never ordering her Starbucks because whatever she said is so complicated. Sounds so complicated.
it
I would totally murder it. And she'd be like,
I think it's really just non-fat cappuccino bone dry is how the barista, he'll hand it to me. He'll be like, here's your bone dry. And I'm like, oh, is that what it's called? Yeah, it's funny.
you're like, okay, I got it now. My dad always jokes when I go because I'm like, oh, I'm from the South. I'm from North and South Carolina. And I love sweet tea. Like, it's my jam. But I want it really sweet. I was telling Mike, like, it has to almost kill me. Like, if it's just that, like,
Yeah.
it needs to, like, might put me on the floor.
Yeah.
And that's fine.
That's fine.
It's fine.
Yeah.
But, like, my dad's always at
Choose your
Starbucks.
battles.
Yeah, right.
If that's the worst thing I'm doing right now in my life, I am Gucci over here.
Yep.
Like, the worst thing is I have extra sweet tea. Y'all get off me. Haters,
Right.
get off me. There's worse things in
Seriously.
life. I'm going to be okay.
Yeah.
But my dad's always like, oh, do you want me to pick up your mocha choca 6-pump fried this, that, whatever? Like, he makes fun of me. But I'm like, Dad, I don't get anything complicated. It's just, like, literally off the menu. It's
Right.
not, but he's like, I know, but every Starbucks drink is like, they don't have small, medium, or large. It's like, he doesn't know the lingo.
I couldn't even send my dad.
Yeah.
So more power to yours.
I don't know if he gets it right all the time. I'm like, Dad, like, just here, save this in your phone in case you have to
Right.
go in your
Right.
notes section of like what that is.
That's funny.
But it is funny, like the things that we're like, you know what? It just makes you feel good. You just
Yeah.
want to have that. But
Right.
yeah, I just am like, you travel a ton, I travel a ton, and it's just like everyone always thinks it's so glamorous too. Like, oh, and I'm like, we see the inside of hotel rooms, car services, planes, lost luggage, meal rooms, the back house of arenas 90% of the time.
Yeah.
And like we sit sit next to fans who are, drunk, screaming, eating popcorn, and you're like, okay, cool. Like this is my next 4 hours. Awesome.
Right. But I would still choose it every single day.
Every day.
It's crazy when you describe it like that because it's true, right?
It is.
But I would not have it any other way.
Well, and that's what I was going to ask you. If you weren't doing this, what? Okay, and you can't say run your podcast either because that's not going to be the backup answer here. I want the real.
You know what's funny is I did a podcast with a friend yesterday and she asked me that question and no one's really ever asked me that. But I kid you not, no one would ever see me. I would be Mowgli from the Jungle Book in a dog form, and I would be off in a woods in a lake place and just living on the water in a tent. You could even put me in a tent. Yeah, I would do it all. Yeah.
In a tent.
But I say that because I think, one, I came from a very small hometown that I'm very proud of, Van Wert, Ohio. And right now, living here in Los Angeles, which is awesome, right? Like, I love the hustle and the bustle, the go, go, go. But one of the reasons why I love going home is I always say I could cross the road in my hometown, not look both ways, and I'll 100% make it to the other side, right? And I think just the simplicity of that is, it's the balance, right? Like, I am a very black and white person. I struggle with the gray. I struggle with complacency. I need black or white. Like, this is it. I'm either all in, I'm, both feet down, ready to go, or in one direction or the other. And I think that's what it is for me. It's either I go home, I go off the grid. I have friends back here that will text me. Actually, they've learned now, don't text me because I will not respond. I'm not being rude, but bye. I put everything off. I turn off my social media and I just hang out at home. I'm just like, I'm by myself. I'm with my family, that kind of thing. And then when I'm not there, I'm here and I'm doing my job. And it's I feel like in a sense, it's very separate.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if people necessarily, and I think it's a good thing if they would recognize me at home. I am who I am.
Yeah.
But if I don't want to brush my teeth, I'm not going to brush my teeth. If I want to go to bed with dirty feet because I've been running outside all day, okay. I'm still very I'm very
Mowgli.
Mowgli.
Yeah. So, if I don't want to wash my hair, there's 6 days versus the 4 days here.
Yeah.
I don't.
Love it.
So I'm very simple.
Okay, so you would just do nothing. You would literally just.
I'd have to find a way to survive, but
I
I would just be very very simple. Maybe I'd sell my feet pics. Kidding. I'm kidding. It is
Well, they might be. Are they dirty or clean, beat mix? Like, we need to go back now.
You never know. There are consumers out. I'm just kidding.
I was thinking
I'm
that
kidding.
too. Well, what do you do to unwind? Because you're constantly basketball all day.
Yeah, like, what's your
every day.
self-care?
Yeah.
Are you reading? Are you?
I do a lot of hot yoga. I've actually tried to dive back into reading. Not dive back in. I used to read as a kid with my grandmother. But I've been diving into books here and there to kind of uncharge. But fitness is a big thing for me. I work out quite a bit, 5 days a week at least. And I sleep. I'm a big sleeper.
Any shows that you're
You're a big
into?
sleeper.
Oh, like I could sleep 18 hours a day.
Really?
I'm with you. I was saying the other day, I was like, I like to go to bed at like 9:30.
Yeah.
Like I like to go to bed. I got to get a good sleep. I'm not a morning person anyways, but when I don't get enough sleep, I am
don't talk
not
to
a
me.
nice person.
Yeah,
like
me
there
either.
is no version of me that wants to have anything to do with a human being. None. And I don't want you to have that experience with me.
Yeah, agreed.
So if we're ever on a trip together and you just see us sitting apart, it's because we're like, over here. Like, I'll meet you on the plane.
yeah, I'll catch you on the flip side.
I'll meet you at luggage on the other side.
Yeah, I can sleep for days. So,
What are
yeah.
you reading?
I'm really big into Colleen Hoover right now.
Have you read Never Never?
Oh my god, I'm on it right now. Are you serious?
Yes.
It ends with us. It starts with us. Verity. I'm on Never Never though right
You're
now.
on Never Never right now. Okay,
I
I'm
actually
reading.
just started it. Yeah.
Okay, you did? Okay, I'm like 3/4 of the way through it.
Is it good?
It's good.
Okay. Because I actually, when I posted it on my Instagram, someone responded.
We're gonna have to start a book club on Never Never.
It would be fun. Wait, you're on it too?
Well, I have a book. It's a Colleen Hoover book, but I think it's one of the ones you talked about. Like this.
It Starts With Us?
It starts with us.
This Starts With Us?
My
Yeah.
roommate gave it to me. It's next to my bedside. I
She's
have
gonna
not
get there.
opened it yet, but I
Tonight.
might after
Tonight.
This podcast,
She's gonna.
honestly.
Tonight.
Is
She's
that
gonna.
the blue one?
It's blue. Yeah.
Okay, it's the blue one.
Right next, matches
And
my
then
bed.
It Ends With Us is the pink one, and
Okay.
It Ends With Us is first.
Okay. Oh well, she gave me the blue one.
Can you read them backwards,
know.
or do you have to read them in order?
I think you're supposed to read them in order, but you'll get it. You'll figure it out.
Okay.
But
You might not have to read the first one if you read the second
Wow,
one.
yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
The
Like, you might
first
get like
one,
the.
oh my god, like finished in 2.5 days.
Okay,
Pink
it's
one.
called It
Pink
Starts
book.
With Us.
You have It Starts With Us,
I have the blue one.
which is the blue one.
By the way, pink and
Ends
blue.
With Us.
What has our day become? We're in
know,
pink and
right?
blue today, too.
Yeah, touche. Yeah. Oh, they're so good.
It's so good. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
Okay,
read
it
They're
starts
very
with us
good.
and it ends with us.
Yeah, they're very good, and they're mate books. Yeah.
Yeah. No, we were talking yesterday. So fun fact about Megan, she went. You tell it. It's your story. Where you went to
What's my fun
school.
fact? Oh, I went to Washington State
Oh, okay.
University. Go Cougs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we were talking about our love for like crime solving
'cause
things
Brian
because of
Koberger.
Brian Koberger's
Yeah.
where she went to school.
It-
The Idaho.
It's like
the Idaho murders.
the man
I know.
who murdered.
Look at her
4
face. It was the
I
same
know.
thing as mine yesterday.
Wait a second.
Well, he murdered 4.
You know the
UI
Idaho
I know
murder.
the
Yeah.
students. Yeah.
She
But
went to
how
school
was-
there.
He was getting his PhD.
Uh-huh.
At
PhD.
WSU.
We're-
Well, so I was like a part. I mean,
Oh.
like it's just like he's
She
not a
went.
Coug,
She lived in that town.
but, yeah.
Like lived in that town the whole thing.
and I know
Look
exactly
at
where it was. Yeah, it's like crazy. 6 miles away from WSU to U of I. Like, yeah.
Oh
so,
my.
So we're
Yeah.
following that. We talked about that
Yeah,
yesterday.
but like I was saying, I was like, oh, I love like murder
Yeah.
mystery things or whatever. And she's
Yeah.
like, well, I went here, and I was like,
I just saw that someone said, I forget where this came from, but it's a red flag if you
yeah,
are consumed by.
you have
but I am
trauma
that way
in your
too.
life if you can
Yeah.
watch,
Yeah.
you know, Law and Order SVU before you go to sleep. And I said yesterday, I was like, why does it have to be negative? Why can't it be like you like to solve things and help people?
Like, I know that this is evergreen, but this is probably going to live forever because it's in the history. The submarine thing is like,
My son is obsessed with it. Literally, he's like, Mom, there's an update. Mom, there's an update. Mom, there's an
I
update.
woke up this morning, I was like, they're gone. They ran out. Time ran out. Clock ran out.
Yeah.
What?
What? Yeah, the August.
And where are they?
Yeah, it's
I know. That's honestly, we were talking about that yesterday too, of like,
so
who
wild
gets
to
in
me.
that?
Yeah.
It's like the people that want to go to space. Like, if
Don't
I
even get
can't
me
dial
started.
911, I'm not
Yeah.
doing it.
Yeah.
I'm not. So are you a skydiver or are you a scuba diver? If you have to pick one, this or that.
Oh, first of all, we don't belong in the ocean. As human beings, we do not belong in the ocean.
But you belong on an airplane falling out of it
Let's
for
hear
fun.
I don't even know if that's true. But
Let's
if
hear
I
it.
had to choose,
What would you choose?
If I had to choose my end game,
Yeah.
it's land over water.
I'm with you.
My biggest fear in
100%.
life is suffocation, is drowning. Like, oh my god, like I got something in my throat right now thinking about that. Like, it's so horrific to me. So no, I would have never signed up to go. My heart is just in shambles with this thing because I don't even.
Well,
I need to know what happened. I need to know what the conversations
I know.
were.
Well, I saw the inside of that thing today, y'all. Like on like some like the BBC had like they had found some video of the guy that built it. That thing is like the size of this freaking table.
It's the size of a minivan.
But like,
Whoa.
but on the like fully, but the space that they are in, they cannot stand up in. It is like a sit-up thing.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
There's no bathroom, like,
Yeah.
and it's screwed from the outside. Even if they got to the top, they couldn't get out themselves.
Oh my gosh.
It'd be a miracle though if they were at the top.
No,
That would be
100%. But like even then, like okay, you get there,
yeah.
and
Then
you're
what?
still in the same problem.
Yeah.
You're not breathing fresh air. There's no hole. So like someone has to unscrew it to like get out.
I don't want people in my mentions. And so to say that, I'll have to tell you guys off, whatever, but the thoughts that go through my brain over the last 96 hours of what's
happening
really
with them?
48 hours, yeah. And what I would have done. Yeah. We're not going to say it on the podcast.
But it's things like that where I'm like,
Know your personnel, Allie. Know your personnel. KYP. But yeah.
No, it's fascinating. Okay, so okay. So
I would love to skydive. I think, I know, right?
You got Team Skydive over there. I
Yeah,
am all
Team Skydive.
day.
Yeah.
I'll just watch y'all. I'll film the little birds
you'll
falling.
film.
You'd
out of
rather go in the ocean?
I don't want to do either.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Like
But I
I'm
said you had to pick one.
I mean,
She's strapping to the back of us with a parachute, for sure.
yeah. Well, then you're making me go. Then that's like forced coercion. Like, damn it, you're gonna go. No, Kate, just come ride with us and film. And then there's like Velcro on my back, and I'm like, no.
So funny. Yeah.
No. Okay, are you sneakers or stilettos? Oh.
Tough.
Probably sneakers.
Okay. Are you early bird or night owl? Or 18-hour sleep days, which I'm all for.
Yeah, I'd have to say I'm a night person. If I have to get up for something, I'm great in the morning, but it's only if I have to. If not, I'm sleeping in like,
Yeah.
yeah.
I have this bad
night
thing
owl.
of like when I know I have to get up and I set my alarm, then I can't sleep. And
Oh,
I'm up
yeah.
all night
Oh, yeah,
long,
'cause
like,
you're
oh my God, I'm going to
waking up.
miss
Yeah.
this
I'm
flight,
the
I'm
same
going to
way.
whatever. And I'm like, oh,
Yeah,
what?
for sure.
Like, Okay, and are you dresses or pantsuits for game days?
Oh, I love a good power suit.
I am with it.
Love it.
Yeah. I'm a power suit person.
We're going to have power. That's what we should name this podcast. It's Power Suit.
Power suit.
The power
That'd be a
suit.
great one.
That would be
They're
a
so
great
cute
name.
too. I love
know.
them. And different colors. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're really cute.
The way you guys showed up. Yeah. Okay, great.
Oh, wait, I'm supposed to go back to black, all black outfits. My bad.
Then they're gonna be like, they're so boring. They're just in all black now. Great, cool. Max is gonna be like, can you guys just like show a little like something? And I'm like, nope, we're just switching off black t-shirt, long sleeve, black t-shirt, long sleeve on it. No, well, I can't thank you so much for like coming by and just spending your morning with us. This has been so fun, and I love just learning the ins and outs of what you do because
appreciate it.
it's honestly it's inspiring. I'm from a small town too, so it's like being the girl that got out of the small town. Sometimes you have anxiety about it. Like I always feel like sometimes I go home and they're like, "Oh, what do you do?" And I like dumb myself down because I feel bad, as opposed to like, you know, because I'm like, "Oh, well,
Yeah.
But I will tell you this. I had to go to my youngest son's career day. I told you this yesterday, and trying to explain what I do to 5-year-olds.
Oh, wow.
All they cared about was like Devin Booker, literally.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't even work with Devin Booker, but whatever. If you,
Yeah.
if you want to take it up, sure. I was like, here's this really cool Wilson basketball that's made from like, we use for dunk, and it's made from like a recycled plastic, and it's made from a 3D printer. It's like super cool. Didn't care. I could have gone in there and told them I worked at McDonald's, and I would have been much cooler.
Yeah.
How about the Mac sauce though at McDonald's?
The what? The Mac sauce?
The Mac sauce.
Oh, is that
You
new?
saw that, right?
No.
Yeah.
I love McChickens though. What does it go on?
McChickens are great. I literally eat McDonald's for Taco Bell like 2-3 times a week.
Okay, what do you eat? Say it out loud.
Double cheeseburger with Mac sauce from McDonald's is like my go-to.
Mac sauce is
And-
from the
So it's from the Big Mac, but they made it in cups.
Oh.
And
So
it's
now
like-
it's a condiment. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
okay,
sorry,
and what do
go
you
on.
and Taco Bell?
Cheesy gordita crunch sub the beef for chicken.
Do you ever just order anything off the menu? Like, do you just walk up and like,
I'm that person. So I actually
I'm like her Starbucks order.
I know.
She has to get the Mac sauce and sub. She said sub. She's ordered it so many
Sub,
times. It's not like without. She says sub.
I usually have it every night on the way home from a game.
So you gotta
And you know what's
eat,
horrible?
And there's not that many places
open.
open.
You know what's horrible though too is like sometimes I'll add more to my order because I don't want to waste their time of just giving me one thing. Because like I really just want at that time. If it's after a night out,
Guilt, like it matters to them. They're paid hourly, Allie.
nice.
Okay,
I
they don't
know.
care if they make you one thing or 55 things.
you should tell my figure that. Allie, they're paid hourly. Okay. Yeah. After a night out, I'll rack that bill up. Like I have zero problem. But like on a normal day, I only just really want a cheesy gordita crunch. But I have to add to the order because I feel bad.
Okay, next time she's on the show or when we go see her in Vegas, we're going to bring a taco 12-pack.
Yes.
And we're going to drink and eat Taco Bell.
Love it.
while
Yo, in
we're-
2018, I was the mild pack on for Taco Bell for Halloween.
I thought you were going to say you were on it. And I was
they
like,
posted me on their Instagram.
Wait, that's amazing.
If you scroll back far enough, it was like 2 years ago. They like ended up asking me if they could post it. I was the fire packet.
Wow.
And I carried a pack of 12 tacos. Yeah.
I mean, she's living your best life.
That's
like,
a win right there.
we're over here just gender revealing. And she's over here on freaking Taco Bell mild fire sauce, okay?
So cool.
Everybody go get it. Yeah. I love it.
Yes.
Okay, well, we're bringing Taco Bell.
Okay.
She has the booze. We have the tacos. Sounds like
And tattoos on the way out. Oh, please.
Or during.
go.
Like,
Or
I think
during.
we could do it during.
It could be like kind of like an episode of The Shop.
Yeah.
Instead of getting our hair done, we
Yeah.
get
Or
tattoos.
I'm all about, I'll go to the dry bar in a second. So
Oh, yeah, me too.
Yeah,
Fresh blowout.
we-
Oh, yeah, here we are.
Listen,
Instead,
we're feel good.
Yeah.
Do it.
Instead, we're just drinking Coke, eating hot dogs in the back of an arena.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sign us up.
Yeah, getting tattoos on the way out, like free. Everybody, just walk by. It's free. Everyone, how many people can we convince to get a tattoo?
Seriously.
In an hour?
It's
like
the
on
best
our show.
thing you'll ever do for
Got
yourself.
one right here. So we just had Allie Clifton, and she was such an amazing guest.
Allie, honestly, like, first of all, she loves Taco Bell McDonald's, so shout out to her for being real and vulnerable. But she has honestly been a part of so many things. The Cavs winning a franchise.
Yep.
She talked about like her first experience off the fly interviewing Kyrie and LeBron after a game in J.R. Smith. Like, watching and hearing from her of like how much preparation she puts into everything.
Oh, yeah.
It honestly, it kind of inspired me of like, okay, I need to do a little bit more.
I know.
But just hearing it from a small town in Toledo,
Yeah. And look where she is now.
I
Amazing.
know.
Such a grind, too. She works so hard, and you can tell.
such a grind.
Yeah.
And she said she wants to shut it off and go back. So she's on her way to vacation right now after she gets through the next couple days, which is awesome. Well, you know what, you guys, if you liked the episode, like it, give us a review, share it with a friend, inspire the next her. We are here to tell the most amazing stories of these women and their path in their career. We love having you guys here. Like and subscribe. Love to see you guys next week. We can't wait till then. For now, that's her table.